Here to discuss the future of data distribution and analytics for financial institutions, please welcome CEO and founder of DrumG, Tim Grant.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Are you having an excellent day, I assume? Thank you very much. A little bit of liveliness goes a long way. Now, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called DrumG. And I actually called the company DrumG after the street that I grew up on in West Central Scotland. It's called Drumgellish Street. And my dear mum still lives on the same street. Hey, Mum. And so I'm wearing this kilt today for two reasons. Three reasons, actually. One, because it's badass. Two, because it's a homage to our name and to our history and the street that launched me into the world. But three, because it's an interesting, fresh take on an old idea. Very traditional. This badass, customized pinstripe kilt suit, courtesy of my friends at 21st Century Kilts in Edinburgh, is a fresh take on an old idea. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about. Now, there's something that unites all of us today that are here. And that something is a grand ambition. We all are here because we have a very big idea about how to change the world. But ambitions are useless and meaningless if you don't measure the impact, and you can't do that without taking small steps. Grand ambition, big impact, small steps. Now, what we're really here to do, and it says welcome to the decentralized future in big letters over there, is to draw a line between today and a better future, a better tomorrow. In order to do that, we've got to solve some problems. We've got to measure the impact of the problems we've solved. But I tell you what, gasp, shock, it's not about the technology. It's not about the technology. Let me be more specific. This is the DrumG Holy Trinity. Now, we are not religious. We're non-denominational. But the way we think about building a business is technology is only one component. Now, these are concepts. We name everything at DrumG, our products, and we also name ideas, because ideas are important. And we've got three ideas in our Holy Trinity, which is Optima, Connector, and Bronco. You don't know what they mean. Only people in DrumG know what they mean, but I'll show you what they mean. Technology is just one part of the solution. You've got to have a commercial model. You've got to know how you're going to charge for whatever it is you're doing. And you've got to have a business model optimization. You've got to have governance. Now, you guys all know this, but so many projects in this space only have one or two of these. You've got to have all three. Now, when we talk about commercial models, and we talk about networks, and we talk about blockchains, we talk about Bitcoin, and we talk about crypto, and we talk about solutions in this space, power law economics is really what matters. Networks of networks. The power to have power law economics is huge. And really, we're talking about multi-sided platforms. Building networks is just building n-sided platforms. That's been around for years. There's nothing new about building networks. Don't fool yourself that you're recreating the wheel. Now, don't take it from me. Take it from Joe. Now, Joe happens to be our sole investor and happens to be a good friend. And Joe wrote this, and it really captured my imagination a couple of years ago. Just like the power of compounding interest, compounding value creation events with minimized delays can be a profound driver of exponential growth for an economy. Translation, power law economics. That's what this is all about. Yeah, take a picture. Now, none of this is new. This is an extraordinary article that was written in the Harvard Business Review back in 1996 by W.B. Arthur. You have to go and read this if you're in this space and you think you're going to build a network, because it's just about how you build a network and incentivize people. But notice the first two words: increasing returns, power law economics. And by the way, everyone's writing about the idea of building multi-sided platforms. This book's only a year or two old. There's lots of really good materials, old ideas that need a fresh take. And that's what we're all here to do. But don't fool yourself that it's new. There's a ton of good stuff that we can use. Now, what's interesting when you really think about what it means to build these networks is, what does it mean to have the monopoly of the future? We don't like monopolies. Monopoly rents don't sound good. Monopolies get broken up by governments. Utilities doesn't sound good either. Somewhere in the middle, there's a new monopoly and a new utility. Now, you've got to break down silos. Why would you have to break down silos? Because value is generated at the intersection of previously walled gardens, my friends. Professor Gordon Hewitt, we're lucky to have him on our board of advisors. And he coined this term with us. That means you smash the system and you do things you couldn't do before because people were all broken up in silos and couldn't communicate and work well together. Now, the smartest man that ever lived said this: you have to learn the rules of the game and then you have to play better than anyone else. Now, he was wrong, because if you play the game, that's just playing the game. Playing it better or playing it well is just playing the game. You've got to change your rules. You've got to change the game. But what game are we going to change? Now, here's a bit of fun for you cryptos out there. The crypto market, this is obviously a few days old because it's about 212 as far as I saw this morning, is this big. The Fed's balance sheet is this big. The global currency market is this big. Global money supply is that big. Global fixed income and equity markets is that big. And you know what the big kahuna is? The big kahuna is the derivatives market. $544 trillion. Actually, some people think it's $1 quadrillion. So don't get me wrong, I'm on the board of directors of 2 crypto companies, which is not public yet. But I believe in this. Joe's our investor. I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm saying this is an opportunity. What I'm saying actually is, how about we start over here and go this way? So, by the way, there are no legacy capital markets and crypto capital markets. There's just capital markets at any given time. We've got to smash the system, break the silos, and see this as one opportunity. Now, data is the new oil. We all know this to be true. There's value sloshing around that huge quadrillion-dollar system. Value exchange isn't the problem to some extent, but there's all this data. And by the way, capital markets, that quadrillion-dollar market, has a data problem. We have a data problem. You and I have a data problem. In fact, more specifically, we have a data ownership problem. What's the most poignant example of that data ownership problem? It's Mark Zuckerberg being trotted out in front of regulators and governments all over the world because we gave him our data and he went and monetized it. And when later on we went, hang on a minute, that doesn't feel right. Do you remember that feeling when you figured that out? But you know what? Capital markets has the same data ownership problem. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan have the same data ownership problem. They're the guys that are doing the quadrillion-dollar market. And these are the guys that are taking the data and monetizing it, and the banks don't have ownership, just like you and I don't have ownership of the Facebook data. So we're solving this problem. DrumG's titanium network is solving that problem. That's a quadrillion-dollar problem. Now, what does that look like? Banks send data. This is our architecture. And instead of it going the current way, there's a distributed ledger involved, and I'm totally going to go over time, but the kilt plays, so you can't kick me off. Now, that data, instead of then going into a central party, this is owned by the banks, goes into a DLT network, analytics are calculated, and then they're distributed back. But here's the thing, the banks co-own this. It's no longer owned by the central party, and they always have ownership and audit of their current data. We're a distributed ledger technology shop, make no mistake, but we're ledger appropriate. So big shout out to our friends at Quorum and a big shout out to our friends at Pegasus. We're using Quorum today, and we're looking to potentially use Pegasus in the future. We love what everyone's doing here. That's the Ethereum angle, clearly. This is the system. This is the actual system that will price trillions of dollars of assets every single day or at the end of the month for the biggest financial institutions in the world. And yes, my friends, they still use Excel spreadsheets in 2019. Smash the system. Let's move it forward. Now, why? Why is this disruptive? Things that take a day or a month happen instantaneously. Centralized market data control becomes user-controlled data. Instead of the vendor monetizing the data, the owner monetizes the data. Manual price challenges become automated. Expensive monopolies become massive cost reductions. We're aiming for huge cost reductions. Black box calculations become fully transparent. But let me just finish on this. We have 10 of the world's largest banks currently working with us. But let's put it in context. They're the majority of the trading of a $700 to a quadrillion capital market. The 10 that we have, and their names you will all know, represent over 40% of the global FX market, which trades $5 trillion a day. $5 trillion a day. That means $2 trillion represents by the 10 banks we have working with us right now. By the way, that's 0.01%, 1 basis point, 10,000 times the trading volume of the crypto market. So, I believe in the digital asset revolution, but I also believe that we combat it the other way and start with the biggest market there is. We're only just getting started. That green thing's what we're doing. These are all the other things we can do. And by the way, when digital assets start to hit in size, we're going to do that too. We're going to be ready for that. So, draw a line that gets us from today to a better tomorrow. DrumG, grand ambition, big impact, small steps. Thank you very much.